They told you to be kind, to be liked, to play nice. And you obeyed. You shaped yourself into what they wanted, agreeable, polite, unthreatening. You nodded when you wanted to speak. You smiled when you wanted to walk away. You silenced your instincts to earn their approval. And for what? A momentary pat on the back from people who wouldn't bleed for you if you fell. Deep down, you knew it. You could feel that quiet disgust, like a lion forced to purr. The approval of others became your invisible leash. Every compliment, every like, every ounce of validation. They fed your ego, but they poisoned your power. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." The truth burns, but it frees you. The moment you stop seeking approval, you begin to rule yourself. You stop dancing for the crowd and start commanding your world. When you detach from the need to please, something shifts inside you. Your voice becomes steady. Your presence grows heavy. People sense it. They can no longer manipulate you because your worth is no longer for sale. You become calm, cold, and calculated. The kind of man who doesn't chase, he chooses. Comment below, "I choose power over approval." Let the words burn into your mind. That's your first act of rebellion. The day you stop seeking their permission is the day you start becoming untouchable. Number 1, the rejection of the herd mind. The herd will never forgive the man who dares to walk alone. They will call him ruthless, arrogant, even insane, because his existence exposes their own weakness. Society demands obedience disguised as kindness. It praises humility, but secretly worships power. The moment you stop craving their approval, you become a mirror that reflects their fear, and they will hate you for it. Look at them, running in circles, addicted to validation. They post for likes, speak to be accepted, think to fit in. They are not living, they are performing. Every word they speak is filtered through fear of rejection. But the man who rejects the herd mind, he moves like a ghost through their system, unbothered, detached, dangerous, because his validation comes from within. His silence holds more power than their noise. When you no longer seek to belong, you start to see the pattern. The masses crave comfort, not truth. They trade their freedom for acceptance, their voice for applause. You must learn to value being misunderstood over being liked. You must learn to enjoy the cold distance that comes with power. Because approval is warmth, and warmth makes men soft. Machiavelli understood this. To control the crowd, you must never be part of it. Observe them, yes, study their desires, their fears, their habits, but remain apart. Let them think you're one of them, while your mind operates 3 moves ahead. Your detachment becomes your armor, your silence becomes your sword. There is a point where indifference becomes invincibility. You stop reacting, you stop explaining, you stop needing to prove your worth. Every time someone doubts you, you grow sharper. Every time they exclude you, you grow colder. Until one day they realize they cannot touch what they cannot understand. You are no longer a participant in their approval games. You've become the dealer, the one who decides who gets your time, your attention, your energy. You control the currency now, and that's what terrifies them. Comment below. I move in silence, and they follow my shadow. Let it echo in your mind every time you feel the pull to conform, because the truth is simple. The man who walks alone commands a presence that the crowd can never match. The herd seeks comfort, the sovereign seeks control, and once you understand that difference, you will never be ordinary again. Number 2, the weapon of indifference. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's silence that cuts deeper than a threat. Indifference is not weakness, it's precision. It's the art of withholding reaction until your response becomes lethal. The weak man seeks to prove himself through emotion. The powerful man proves himself through restraint. When you stop needing validation, you stop being predictable. And unpredictability, that's power. They will test you. They'll poke at your calm, try to trigger your emotions, bait you into losing control. But a man trained in indifference never flinches. He sees the game and refuses to play. That silence, measured, Unreactive, deliberate, unsettles the manipulator more than any argument ever could, because when they can't provoke you, they can't control you. Indifference is focus. It's not about ignoring everything. It's about mastering what deserves your energy. Every reaction is an exchange of power. Every word you waste explaining yourself bleeds influence. When you learn to hold that energy, to stay composed while others panic, you evolve from participant to strategist. You stop chasing influence and start becoming it. The world is loud because people fear silence. They fill the void with noise, with opinions, with desperate attempts to be seen. But a man of cold power moves differently. His calm demands attention. His stillness carries weight. When he enters a room, he doesn't seek to impress. He observes, calculates, and lets the silence work for him. Machiavelli understood the psychology of control. He knew that appearances are tools, not truths. You can appear agreeable while planning domination. You can appear neutral while calculating the next move. The master of indifference plays both sides, hides his motives, and never lets emotion dictate direction. His stillness is not passivity, it's command. Praise him, and he remains composed. Insult him, and he remains composed. Because his validation doesn't come from others, it comes from dominance over himself. That is the essence of true masculinity, self-command. In a world of reaction, stillness becomes rebellion. Indifference disarms manipulators. They rely on your reactions, your need to defend, your craving for approval. When you give them nothing, no emotion, no explanation, no attention, they suffocate in their own noise. You don't need to prove them wrong. You simply make them irrelevant. That's psychological warfare at its finest. Silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It's the quiet power that makes others question themselves. It's what kings use to command respect without raising their voices. The calm stare, the slow movements, the deliberate pause. These are not weaknesses, they're signals. They tell the world, I am not rushed, I am not shaken, I am in control. Indifference isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. You rise above trivial emotion. You rise above gossip, distraction, and reaction. You don't argue, you decide. You don't chase, you attract. The less you care, the more control you have. Because caring too much gives others leverage. When you become immune to their opinions, you take that leverage back. And yes, it will make people uncomfortable. They'll call you cold, distant, emotionless. Let them. The truth is, most people are terrified of men who can't be manipulated. They don't hate your indifference. They fear what it represents, independence. It's a threat to everything they rely on to feel powerful. When you master indifference, you no longer play their game. You design your own. You stop reacting to their moves because you're already 10 steps ahead. You don't fight for their attention. You make them fight for yours. You don't beg for clarity. You create it. You no longer seek approval. You command respect. Remember, the calmest man in the room is always the most dangerous. Not because he's emotionless, but because he's in control of when, where, and how he reveals those emotions. His restraint is terrifying because it's strategic. He doesn't lash out, he waits, he doesn't panic, he plans. And when he moves, it's final. This is the weapon of indifference. It's not loud, it doesn't boast, it simply acts. Efficiently, intelligently, ruthlessly. It's how you stay above chaos, how you win wars before they start, how you command a room without saying a word. Comment below. My silence is power. Let that phrase anchor itself in your mind. Because once you master silence, you master perception. And once you master perception, you master everything. Number 3, the anatomy of control. Control, the one word that separates the powerful from the powerless. Every empire, every leader, every silent conqueror has built their throne upon it. But understand this, control isn't about domination over others. It begins within. It's the mastery of your own impulses, your mind, your emotions. The world bends to the man who commands himself. The man who cannot control himself will always be controlled by others. Control is quiet. It doesn't announce itself with noise or movement. It exists in the stillness between reactions. The Machiavellian mind knows that power is not seized through chaos, but through composure. When everyone else is scrambling, you remain unshaken. When they argue, you observe. When they act, you calculate. Every emotion you master becomes another weapon in your arsenal. The weak seek control externally. They try to manipulate, to dominate, to shout louder. But all that noise betrays one thing: lack of self-command. You cannot rule a kingdom if you cannot rule your own thoughts. True control is internal architecture. It's the invisible discipline that shapes every decision, every tone of your voice, every movement of your body. People feel it before they understand it. Control is the art of timing. It's knowing when to speak, when to act, and when to disappear. The greatest strategist is not the one who moves first. It's the one who moves last, with precision. Every delay, every pause, every silence, intentional, every word, sharpened like a blade. The Machiavellian doesn't react to the world, he engineers it. He sets the tone and lets others dance to it. And yet, control is not about rigidity. It's fluid, adaptable, almost invisible. The man who clings too tightly loses his grip. The one who adapts controls the flow without being seen. Like water, he fills the cracks, reshapes the container, and still maintains his essence. That's real dominance, not force, but influence disguised as calm. You must understand that control begins in solitude. You refine it in silence. When you sit alone with no distraction and master the noise within your own mind, that's when your foundation is built. Every distraction, every impulsive urge, every emotional reaction, they are cracks in your armor. Seal them, strengthen them, turn your mind into a fortress where no outside voice can enter without permission. The Stoics knew this truth well. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Control is that conquest. It's not an event, it's a lifestyle. It's found in the way you breathe when someone disrespects you, in the way you pause before answering a challenge, in the way you choose calm over chaos, focus over frenzy, precision over passion. A Machiavellian mind does not suppress emotion, it directs it. Anger becomes fuel, desire becomes strategy, pain becomes data. Every feeling is harnessed, converted, weaponized. You do not deny your emotions, you command them. That's why those who think you are emotionless misunderstand you. You feel deeply, you just don't let it show. The anatomy of control is built from 3 pillars: discipline, detachment, and discretion. Discipline is the root. It's the unseen work that gives you structure. The small, unglamorous acts done in silence, the early hours, the planning, the preparation. While others indulge, you train. While they chase comfort, you chase clarity. Detachment is the shield. It protects your mind from manipulation. You observe people without attachment, outcomes without desperation, results without emotion. This is not apathy, it's supremacy. You care, but selectively. You engage, but strategically. You give, but never more than you can afford to lose. Discretion is the sword. It's what separates power from arrogance. Never reveal everything. Let mystery become your armor. Speak less than you know, act later than expected, and move in ways they can't predict. The man who cannot be read cannot be controlled. In a world obsessed with exposure, privacy becomes a superpower. The less they know about you, the more they assume, and assumption breeds fear. Your silence becomes legend. Your control becomes myth. And that's exactly where you want to exist, not seen but felt. People will always try to disrupt your composure. They'll test your patience, challenge your authority, question your worth. Let them. Their chaos exposes them. Your stillness exposes you. The contrast speaks louder than words ever could. When they rage and you remain calm, they lose twice, once in the argument and again in their own reflection. Understand this. Control is contagious. Your presence alone can discipline a room. When you speak slowly, others lower their voices. When you sit still, they shift nervously. You don't demand respect, you evoke it. Because respect is not given to those who ask for it, it's surrendered to those who command it. Machiavelli would tell you, power is perception, and perception is controlled by consistency. The more stable you appear, the more authority you project. People trust strength, not sympathy. They follow certainty, not noise. So remain unbothered, consistent, composed. In a world that worships reaction, stillness is supremacy. And yet, true control also knows when to let go, to surrender what's out of your reach. That's not weakness, it's intelligence. The Machiavellian knows that some wars are won by retreat, that some power is gained through patience. The ego wants to conquer everything. The strategist chooses only what matters. Every great empire fell not from outside invasion, but from internal chaos. Never let that happen within you. Guard your thoughts, audit your emotions. Do not let anger rule where reason should reign. A man who controls himself becomes immune to manipulation, immune to chaos, immune to failure. The anatomy of control is not about chains, it's about freedom. Freedom from emotional slavery, from mental noise, from external control. Once you master yourself, the world bends naturally to your rhythm. You no longer chase stability, you are stability. You no longer react to pressure, you become pressure. And when others finally realize they can't break you, can't read you, can't move you, they will either follow you or fear you. Both are acceptable outcomes. Comment below. I control myself. Therefore, I control all. Because control isn't about dominance, it's about ownership of your time, of your thoughts, of your destiny. The moment you understand that, you stop playing the game and start running it. Number 4, the mask of power. Power, when displayed too openly, breeds resistance. People fear what they can see coming, but they serve what they don't understand. That's why the wise never reveal their full hand. The strong don't flaunt their strength. They disguise it behind calm, politeness, and precision. This is the mask of power, Machiavelli's most dangerous tool. The average man wants to be seen as powerful. He wants attention, applause, recognition. But the true strategist knows that visibility is vulnerability. The moment they can read you, they can predict you. And once they can predict you, they can control you. That's why the cold, quiet man, the one who says little and moves less, is feared more than the loudest in the room. His mask is his weapon, his silence, his camouflage. The mask of power is not deception for vanity, it's deception for survival. You present the version of yourself that is useful to your objective. You show what strengthens your position and conceal what weakens it. A smile becomes a curtain. A handshake becomes a shield. You blend charm with calculation until no one can tell where your kindness ends and your control begins. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel." The mask exploits this truth. The world judges by appearances, so you craft yours like armor. You let them underestimate you, misread you, grow comfortable, because comfort is weakness. When they assume they understand you, they expose themselves. But make no mistake, the mask of power is not cowardice, it's warfare. The emotional man reveals his cards, the rational man arranges them. You do not owe the world your authenticity, you owe it your strategy. Every great ruler, every tactician, every man who shaped empires wore masks, different ones for different people, but each built with intent. Behind the mask lies your true strength, cold observation. You study the room, the words, the energy. You learn what people crave, validation, attention, belonging. Then you feed them just enough to keep them predictable. You give them the illusion of knowing you while you extract everything you need from them. Power, respect, leverage, it's all taken, never asked for. In modern times, this art is lost. The world glorifies transparency, oversharing, emotional exposure. They tell you to be authentic, to speak your truth. But authenticity without boundaries is weakness. It gives people a roadmap to your vulnerabilities. The Machiavellian doesn't lie. He edits. He doesn't conceal the truth. He chooses which truth to reveal. The mask of power is a filter. It hides your emotions until they become tools, not liabilities. Anger becomes a weapon only when controlled. Empathy becomes manipulation only when hidden. Detachment becomes mystique only when mastered. You never show them where to strike because you never reveal where it hurts. Understand this. People trust predictability. The more consistent your mask, the more secure they feel around you. And the more secure they feel, the more open they become. They will confide, expose, and reveal themselves, believing you harmless. That's when you move. That's when you lead. That's when your silence becomes power in its purest form. But to wear the mask effectively, you must first destroy your ego. The ego wants to be recognized. The strategist wants to be remembered. The ego wants to be praised. The strategist wants to be obeyed. When you stop caring how they see you, you gain control over how they react to you. You can be humble without being weak, polite without being soft, friendly without being reachable. Learn to control what image you project. To the strong, appear useful. To the powerful, appear loyal. To the emotional, appear understanding. To the insecure, appear confident. People follow reflections of what they need. Give them that reflection, and they'll never see the calculation behind your eyes. The mask also protects you from emotional exposure. It separates your internal world from the chaos outside. No matter the insult, betrayal, or loss, your expression remains still. Because the moment they see your reaction, they learn how to move you. You must never give them that data. The less they know, the less they can weaponize. This discipline creates psychological distance. You become both participant and observer, engaged yet untouchable. You can enter any social arena, blend into any group, and remain entirely in control. People will think they're close to you, yet you're always watching from above the board. The beauty of the mask is that it makes you unpredictable. When they expect warmth, you give frost. When they expect retreat, you advance. You operate like smoke, there, yet untouchable. They can't grip what has no form. That's the secret. The mask doesn't imprison you. It frees you from their expectations. Remember, the mask isn't falsehood. It's evolution. You don't betray who you are. You protect who you are. In a world where everyone is broadcasting their weakness, your silence becomes sacred. Your mystery becomes magnetic. They'll wonder what drives you, what you're thinking, what you want, and that curiosity gives you control. People chase what they can't define. So be undefined, be unpredictable, be unreadable. The mask of power turns you into a mirror. People see what they want, not who you are. And in that illusion, you move without resistance. You influence without suspicion. You dominate without confrontation. There will come a day when you'll realize that authenticity is not about exposure. It's about sovereignty. You choose who gets access to your truth. You decide what version of yourself serves the mission. You own your image, your story, your silence. That's real authenticity, strategic authenticity. And when you master that, you become untouchable. The loud will burn out. The emotional will destroy themselves. The maskless will be consumed by exposure. But you'll remain. Calculated, composed, powerful. Comment below, I wear my power in silence. Because the mask you wear is not a disguise, it's your armor. And when the world tries to read you, they'll find nothing but reflection staring back. Number 5, the art of strategic distance. There's a silent law that governs all power. Proximity breeds familiarity, and familiarity kills respect. The moment they think they understand you, they stop fearing you. The instant they feel too close, they start speaking carelessly, assuming equality where there is none. That's why the most powerful men in history always kept their distance. Not out of pride, but out of precision. Strategic distance is the invisible wall that separates leaders from followers, predators from prey, kings from the common. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He knew that if a ruler becomes too accessible, the illusion of authority fades, because power thrives on perception, and perception is built through scarcity. The less they see of you, the more they imagine about you. The more they imagine, the more they mythologize. Distance doesn't weaken influence, it magnifies it. You see, people are drawn to what they can't reach. It's in their psychology. The human mind attaches value to what is rare and contempt to what is common. So when you become too available, too reachable, too open, you dilute your power. They no longer feel privileged by your presence. They feel entitled to it. And entitlement breeds disrespect. Strategic distance is not coldness. It's control of access. It's understanding that not everyone deserves your time, your energy, or your presence. It's learning to be deliberate with your availability. You don't vanish completely. You appear with purpose. Every presence must be calculated. Every absence intentional. You train people to value your time by limiting their access to it. When you withdraw from constant attention, something remarkable happens. Your presence becomes heavier. When you speak less, every word begins to carry weight. When you appear less, every movement becomes memorable. You go from being a person to being an event. The Machiavellian mind understands this shift. It's not about disappearing. It's about becoming selective to the point that your presence commands reverence. Distance builds desire, but it also builds discipline, because strategic distance isn't just external, it's internal. It's not only about keeping others away, it's about keeping your emotions in check. You don't allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. You separate reaction from response. The more space you create between stimulus and action, the more control you hold. That space, that pause, is where mastery lives. In dark psychology, this is called emotional containment. It's the art of being present without being penetrable. You let people speak, cry, rage, confess, but you absorb none of it. You listen, you nod, you calculate. The moment you let emotion blur your judgment, you lose the high ground. Emotional distance gives you perspective. It lets you see not only what they're saying, but why they're saying it. People will accuse you of being detached. Let them. They don't understand that attachment blinds judgment. The Machiavellian keeps one foot in and one foot out, engaged enough to influence, detached enough to remain in control. The world is a chessboard, and every interaction is a move. To stay ahead, you must never be emotionally anchored to any piece. Strategic distance also tests loyalty. When you pull back, you see who reaches out. When you go silent, you see who grows impatient. Distance exposes truth faster than confrontation ever could. The loyal will stay consistent. The opportunists will fade. The parasites will seek a new host. This is how power cleanses itself, by retreating. You must learn the rhythm of advance and withdrawal. Too much presence makes you predictable. Too much absence makes you forgotten. Balance both. Appear when it benefits you. Withdraw when it doesn't. Control the tension between scarcity and familiarity like a musician controls tempo. It's this rhythm that keeps people intrigued, respectful, and slightly uncertain, exactly where you want them. And remember, not everyone deserves closeness. Access is a privilege, not a right. The weak man opens his world to everyone, hoping to be liked. The sovereign man guards his world like a fortress, allowing entry only to those who serve his purpose. You cannot build power if you're constantly defending your energy. Distance also protects your mystery. When people can't read you, they project their own stories onto you. Some will think you're brilliant, others will think you're dangerous. Both are useful. Let them wonder. Let them fill the silence with their assumptions. The less you correct them, the more control you gain over the narrative. You don't have to be seen to be felt. Presence is not about proximity, it's about pressure. This is why the Machiavellian never chases. Whether it's attention, relationships, or validation, chasing breaks the illusion of power. You never run after what you can attract by standing still. Let them come to you. Let them reach for you. And when they do, decide, coldly, calmly, whether to allow it. The choice must always remain yours. Strategic distance also strengthens your intuition. When you step back, You see patterns. You notice dynamics others are blind to. You start reading motives instead of words. Silence amplifies observation. Observation refines understanding. Understanding creates leverage. And leverage, that's the lifeblood of control. This principle applies to all arenas: business, relationships, social circles. The man who's always available loses negotiation power. The friend who's always giving becomes expendable. The leader who's always visible becomes ordinary. You must be felt more than seen, anticipated more than expected. That's the sweet spot of dominance. Even in personal life, distance gives perspective. When you detach, you learn who you are without the noise of influence. You learn your triggers, your weaknesses, your desires. You learn to act from logic, not loneliness. Solitude becomes your sharpening stone, where your mind grows ruthless, your focus precise, and your will unbreakable. The Stoic man knows this. He who cannot stand alone cannot stand at all. Dependency is death to power. You can connect, love, collaborate, but never attach your identity to others. Emotional sovereignty is the highest form of independence. When nothing outside of you dictates how you feel, you become immune to manipulation. The Machiavellian doesn't isolate himself out of fear, he does it out of clarity. He understands that solitude is where he hears his own strategy. The crowd drowns intuition, but silence reveals it. That's why the strong are often alone, not because they are unloved, but because they are untamed. Maintain strategic distance from everything that tries to consume you: people, desires, distractions. Protect your focus as if it were gold, because in truth, it is. The man who can direct his attention without interference becomes unstoppable. He can control himself, his time, his emotions, and eventually, his environment. The paradox of distance is this: the more you pull away, the more gravity you create. The world is drawn to what it cannot fully have. That's why power never chases, it attracts. The less you reveal, the more they seek to understand. The less you speak, the more they listen. The less you show, the more they imagine. You are not meant to blend. You are meant to bend the air around you. Be the one who remains still while others scramble. The one whose absence is louder than their presence. The one whose silence commands more respect than their words. That is the art of strategic distance. Cold, deliberate, and absolutely effective. Comment below: my distance commands respect. Because in a world drowning in noise and neediness, your silence will be your power, your absence will be your weapon, and your distance will be your throne. Number 6. The law of calculated cruelty. Mercy without strategy is weakness. Cruelty without purpose is chaos. But cruelty with calculation, that's power in its purest form. The Machiavellian doesn't act out of emotion, he acts out of necessity. He understands that kindness and cruelty are tools, not moral identities. He uses both as needed with surgical precision, because in this world, survival doesn't belong to the soft, it belongs to the strategic. Cruelty, when applied correctly, is not about destruction, it's about control. It's about sending a message so sharp it never has to be repeated. The weak man fears being disliked. The powerful man fears being disrespected. That's why when he strikes, he makes it count. Machiavelli warned rulers, if cruelty must be used, use it all at once, so it terrifies the world into obedience. Drip-feeding punishment only invites rebellion, precision over repetition. The law of calculated cruelty is the discipline of decisive dominance. It's the moment when you assert your authority, not through words, but through consequence. When someone crosses you, you don't argue, you demonstrate, you don't threaten, you deliver. The point isn't revenge, it's deterrence. You make your lesson so clear that no one dares test you again. Understand this: cruelty doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it's withdrawal, sometimes it's indifference, sometimes it's denying access, silence, or refusal. Emotional detachment is cruelty to the manipulative. Discipline is cruelty to the lazy. Truth is cruelty to the delusional. To the weak, your standards will feel like punishment. Good. Let it. That's the natural law of hierarchy. Those who cannot rise will resent those who do. Machiavellian cruelty is cold, not angry. It is methodical, not impulsive. It's born from clarity, not rage. The angry man loses his mind. The cruel man loses nothing. He punishes with purpose, not emotion. He knows that fear is a more reliable tool than love because fear demands compliance without question. Love wavers, fear remembers. The powerful man doesn't chase fairness. He enforces order. Because fairness is an illusion sold to pacify the masses. Nature isn't fair, it's hierarchical. The lion doesn't apologize to the gazelle. The storm doesn't ask permission to destroy. Power operates the same way. It takes what it must and punishes what resists. That is not cruelty, it's balance. To master calculated cruelty, you must first destroy the conditioning that made you believe being nice keeps you safe. It doesn't. Niceness is camouflage for fear. The more agreeable you are, the easier you are to manipulate. People don't respect kindness, they exploit it, but they respect power even if they hate it. So learn to balance both. Let your kindness be voluntary, not habitual. Let your cruelty be earned, not impulsive. When you enforce consequences, do it cleanly. Don't gloat. Don't justify. Don't explain. Just execute. A single act of calm, decisive cruelty does more for your reputation than 1,000 explanations ever will. Because people don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. And nothing burns deeper than realizing your mercy has limits. Calculated cruelty also applies to self-discipline. You must be cruel with yourself before you can wield cruelty against the world. Wake up earlier than comfort allows. Train when you don't feel like it. Deny yourself pleasure to sharpen your focus. Comfort kills ambition faster than failure ever could. Be relentless in the pursuit of your standards. The world bends to those who refuse to compromise with their own weakness. Cruelty to the self builds credibility in the eyes of others. When they see how harsh you are with yourself, they understand instinctively. You will not tolerate weakness in them either. Your standards become law. Your presence becomes pressure. They either rise to meet it or fall away. Either outcome benefits you. But here's the paradox. The man capable of cruelty is the only man truly capable of peace. Because he knows restraint. He understands force but doesn't crave it. His mercy carries weight because it's optional. The world respects a man who can destroy but chooses not to. Power without restraint is tyranny. Restraint without power is impotence. The balance of both creates authority. Machiavelli once said that cruelty, if well used, can secure loyalty and stability. The mistake weak leaders make is trying to be loved at all costs. They spare those who deserve punishment, and in doing so, lose control. Mercy in excess breeds rebellion. The Machiavellian enforces justice without emotion. He cuts once, clean, deep, final, because dragging punishment dilutes its impact and invites defiance. Cruelty doesn't mean hostility, it means clarity. It's the refusal to allow disorder. It's the strength to remove anyone or anything that threatens your peace, no matter how much it hurts. This is the highest form of discipline. Cutting ties without explanation, ending opportunities without hesitation, walking away without noise. Cold, precise, irreversible. In dark psychology, this is called the law of psychological contrast. Humans respond more powerfully to sharp changes than to consistency. Be calm, be patient, be silent, and when you act, act decisively. The shock resets expectations. It reminds them who you are and what you're capable of. It creates a mental imprint they will never forget. The same law applies to influence. Be generous when it serves you, merciless when it doesn't. The world only understands polarity, contrast between light and dark, reward and punishment. If you want loyalty, reward publicly and punish privately. If you want fear, punish publicly and remain silent after. Each act must have an intention. to shape perception, not feed ego. And when the time comes to strike, do not hesitate. Hesitation is visible. It betrays uncertainty, and uncertainty invites rebellion. Move with precision and finality. The cruelest move is the cleanest one, like a scalpel, not a hammer. It removes the problem without emotion, without noise, without regret. Calculated cruelty creates boundaries no one dares test. It's not about ruling with terror, it's about ruling with certainty. People may not love you, but they will respect you. And in the hierarchy of power, respect always outlasts affection. When you embody this law, you begin to radiate a different kind of energy, controlled dominance. People sense it in your tone, your posture, your silence. They realize instinctively that your patience has limits, your calm has depth, and your kindness has teeth. The goal is not to become cruel, it's to become capable, because only when you are capable of destruction can your peace be trusted. The world respects the man who can be ruthless but chooses not to be, because they know, if forced, he will end the game. So, when the moment demands cruelty, act with composure. When it demands mercy, act with intelligence. In both, remain unshaken. The Machiavellian mind bends morality to fit necessity, not the other way around. Morality is a luxury the powerless use to excuse weakness. Power writes its own ethics. Comment below, my mercy is earned, not given. Because in the end, cruelty isn't about hatred, it's about order. It's not about destruction, it's about precision. And the man who can wield cruelty with control is not a villain, he's a ruler. Number 7, the discipline of emotional warfare. Power doesn't only live in strength, it lives in control. The battlefield isn't always made of swords and armies. Most of the time, it's made of emotions, subtle, invisible forces that decide who leads and who follows. Emotional warfare is the highest level of control because it targets what most men can't even command within themselves: their feelings. To master power, you must first master that battlefield. The weak man reacts, the strong man calculates. Every insult, every compliment, every act of love or betrayal, it's all data. Most people don't realize they're being played because they play emotionally. They respond to tone, to energy, to words meant to provoke them. But the Machiavellian sees through it. He knows every emotional attack has one goal: to pull you into a fight on someone else's terms, and he never accepts that invitation. The first rule of emotional warfare: never fight on another man's field. When they shout, you go silent. When they insult, you smirk. When they beg for attention, you turn away. Every time you refuse to match their energy, you break their control. They want your reaction because your reaction feeds them. Emotional energy is currency, and indifference is bankruptcy. Let them starve. The second rule: learn to weaponize calm. Calmness unnerves the unstable. It disarms the aggressive. It confuses the emotional. When you remain centered in the storm, you expose how fragile everyone else really is. The emotional man mistakes movement for power. The stoic man knows stillness is power. Your silence becomes the mirror that forces others to see their own chaos. The third rule: observe emotion like a scientist, not a victim. Step outside yourself and watch your feelings as if they belong to someone else. Jealousy, information, anger, energy, fear, a signal. Translate emotion into strategy. Emotion is raw fuel. Don't waste it screaming, use it building. Every time you feel something intense, pause and ask, how can this serve me? That question separates manipulators from the manipulated. Machiavelli knew that those who control emotion control perception. If you can guide what people feel, you can dictate what they believe. That's how kings controlled kingdoms and generals controlled armies, not through brute force, but through manipulation of morale, fear, and faith. Emotional warfare isn't loud, it's invisible. You make them feel something and they follow, thinking it was their idea. To fight emotional wars effectively, you must first know your own triggers. The enemy can't use what doesn't exist. If flattery moves you, they'll use it. If anger controls you, they'll provoke it. If loneliness breaks you, they'll isolate you. Awareness is armor. Study yourself with brutal honesty. Expose your vulnerabilities before the world does. When you understand your own emotional patterns, you strip others of their advantage. Emotional discipline is the foundation of cold power. It means your emotions exist, but they obey you. You allow them to appear only when useful. You show passion when it opens doors. You show empathy when it earns trust. You show anger when it creates fear. But inside, you remain untouched. You're not emotionless. You're emotionally sovereign. Machiavelli wrote that fear and love cannot coexist in power, but both can be used. The art lies in knowing when. Use warmth to draw people near, then coldness to remind them of the distance. Alternate between reward and withdrawal. Humans are addicted to emotional contrast. It keeps them invested, uncertain, hungry. That tension makes you unforgettable. In dark psychology, this is called the pendulum effect. Give a taste of approval, then pull it away. Offer connection, then retreat into silence. Praise once, ignore twice. This doesn't make you cruel, it makes you effective. You're teaching people that your attention has value, that it must be earned, that losing your interest feels like punishment. When people crave your emotional presence, they become easy to direct. But here's the key: emotional warfare must always serve a strategy. Never play with feelings for entertainment. Every move must have purpose. You don't manipulate for sport, you manipulate for outcome. Influence, control, respect. Whatever your mission, every emotion you reveal must point toward it. Chaos without direction destroys credibility. Discipline turns manipulation into mastery. Your emotional tone becomes your most powerful signal. It sets the temperature of every room you walk into. If you are calm, others feel uncertain. If you are confident, others align. If you are unreadable, others project power onto you. You don't have to speak to dominate. You just have to regulate your state. Remember, emotion is contagious, but the stable one always infects the room. You don't mirror their energy, you make them mirror yours. Let others lose control. Let them expose their impulsiveness. The more they emote, the more you observe. The more they talk, the more you learn. You can't read someone who's silent, but you can read anyone who's loud. The Stoic man uses emotional warfare in every arena. In negotiation, his calm unnerves the desperate. In arguments, his silence disarms the loud. In relationships, his restraint amplifies his worth. Because scarcity isn't only physical, it's emotional. The more you control your emotional availability, the more valuable it becomes. People are addicted to attention. Deny it, and you control them. This isn't cruelty. It's strategy. It's how you teach others to treat you. You're showing them that your emotional energy is rare, that your validation is not free. The world floods you with noise, with manipulation, with emotional chaos, but you become the eye of the storm, untouched, unbothered, unbroken. To master emotional warfare, you must also master recovery. When you lose control, and you will, don't linger in regret. Reset, analyze, learn. Every time you recover faster, your power grows. It's not about never slipping. It's about never staying down. The Machiavellian doesn't fear emotional damage. He uses it as data to improve his armor. Pain is information. The greatest power in emotional warfare is to care without being captured. You can love deeply, but never depend. You can empathize, but never absorb. You can connect, but remain free. The moment someone can alter your emotional state at will, they own you. And the man who owns your emotions owns your future. Control your tone, control your face, control your pace of speech. Every detail broadcasts dominance or submission. When you're calm, slow, deliberate, you create gravity. People lean in, they speak softer, they try harder, they start performing for your approval without even realizing it. That's emotional control in motion, the invisible leash of influence. But don't mistake stoicism for suppression. Suppression rots, control refines. Feel everything, but filter everything. Let emotion move through you like wind through steel bars. It passes, but the structure remains. Emotional warriors are not detached, they're disciplined. They feel, but they decide which emotions deserve expression. The ultimate goal is emotional invulnerability. You reach a point where no insult, no praise, no betrayal shifts your foundation. You listen, you evaluate, you adapt, but you never react. That stillness is terrifying to the emotional. It makes you unreadable, unreachable, untouchable. You become the calm predator in a world of panicked prey. And when you reach that level, you no longer play emotional games. You dictate them. You control the rhythm of connection and withdrawal, the temperature of interaction, the entire psychological landscape of every exchange. You become not a participant in emotion, but the architect of it. That is true emotional warfare. To feel everything, control everything, and reveal nothing. To use warmth like bait and coldness like armor. To command your own heart so completely that no one else ever gets the chance to. Comment below, "My emotions obey me." Because when they do, when your emotions serve your mind instead of enslaving it, you don't just win battles, you end them before they begin. Number 8, the science of influence and perception. Influence is not about force, it's about gravity. It's the invisible pull that makes others bend toward your will without realizing why. Machiavelli knew this. People rarely act on reason, they act on perception, and perception is power. If you can shape how people see, you can shape how they think. If you can shape how they think, you can shape how they act. Influence, then, is the quiet mastery of perception. The world is built on illusion. No one truly sees reality. They see their version of it. The Machiavellian mind doesn't fight that truth. It weaponizes it. Influence begins when you stop trying to convince people and start managing what they believe on their own. It's not about truth. It's about narrative. You guide their perception like a sculptor shapes clay, slowly, precisely, invisibly. Perception is the battlefield where dominance is decided long before action. If they believe you're strong, you don't need to prove it. If they believe you're valuable, you don't need to explain it. And if they believe you're dangerous, you don't need to lift a finger. Their belief becomes your armor. Their assumptions become your advantage. You don't win by being right. You win by being perceived as inevitable. The science of influence begins with one rule. People are not logical. They are emotional. Logic defends decisions, but emotion creates them. The wise manipulate emotion to guide logic. The fool argues facts and loses to the man who paints feelings. Machiavellian influence is emotional architecture, constructing frames of thought that lead others exactly where you want them to go, all while they believe it was their choice. The first weapon of perception is mystery. What people cannot define, they cannot dismiss. Be unpredictable enough to remain interesting, stable enough to remain credible. The unknown generates obsession. Speak less, reveal less, and let silence become your currency. The less they know, the more they project, and they will always project in your favor if you carry yourself like a man who knows something they don't. The second weapon is confidence, not the loud, performative kind, but quiet certainty. True confidence is calm. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't shout. It radiates. People don't follow the smartest or the strongest. They follow the most certain. Certainty creates safety, and when you can project that, you own the frame of every conversation. They will bend around your steadiness because it feels like truth. The third weapon is consistency. The human mind craves patterns. The Machiavellian uses this to his advantage. Stay consistent in tone, behavior, and presence. Consistency builds trust. Even in manipulation, once people associate you with reliability, you can lead them anywhere. The trick is to make small, predictable gestures that build comfort, and then leverage that comfort for influence. Influence is also about control of framing. The one who frames the situation controls the meaning. Never argue inside someone else's frame. It's their world, and you'll always lose. Redefine the situation to your advantage. When someone insults you, reframe it as curiosity. When they question you, reframe it as respect. When they challenge you, reframe it as admiration disguised as opposition. The crowd doesn't see truth. They see the one who controls the story. But influence isn't manipulation alone. It's energy management. You must learn to project exactly what they want to see. while staying completely detached from their reactions. The more composed you are, the more people sense importance. The more they sense importance, the more they assign value. Perception is not what you say, it's how you make them feel. Machiavelli understood charisma before the word existed. Charisma is not friendliness, it's command. It's the magnetic mix of composure and danger. People must feel that you could destroy them, but choose not to. That balance of grace and power creates fascination. The charisma of control, the calm that hides capability. That's the energy of a true sovereign mind. To enhance perception, you must also understand contrast. Humans define everything by what it isn't. Be calm among the frantic, be silent among the loud, be precise among the careless. You don't have to outshine others, you just have to stand apart. The contrast will do the work for you. When everyone chases attention, your restraint becomes mysterious, and mystery breeds obsession. Influence is a long game. It's the art of shaping memory, not moments. People rarely remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. So design your presence around lasting impressions, not temporary approval. Your silence, your posture, your tone, those are your instruments. Master them like weapons. The one who controls the emotional temperature of the room controls the people in it. In dark psychology, this mastery is known as affective dominance, the ability to impose your emotional state onto others. When you're calm, they calm. When you're confident, they relax. When you're intense, they focus. You become the thermostat of interaction while others merely react. This is how kings, generals, and manipulators command without commands. They influence through emotional contagion. Another key in perception management is scarcity of words. Talk less. People equate silence with intelligence. They fill the gaps with their imagination, often crediting you with wisdom you never claimed. Every word you withhold increases your value. Every pause amplifies your presence. Restraint makes them chase understanding, and the more they chase, the deeper they fall into your frame. Control of perception also means understanding optics. Always manage what people see. Appearance is not vanity, it's strategy. Dress, posture, pace, all communicate dominance or submission before words ever begin. The mind reads body language faster than it reads sentences. Walk as if you belong wherever you go. Sit as if waiting, not hoping. Speak as if you grant attention, not seek it. Those small signals separate the sovereign from the subject. The Machiavellian man also knows how to weaponize reputation. Reputation is perception multiplied. Guard it with silence. Protect it with precision. Never argue with rumors. Redirect them. Denial looks defensive. Mystery looks powerful. When accused, smile. When praised, deflect. Both keep you above the noise. Reputation is not built by explanation. It's built by consistency of image. And when influence becomes effortless, you'll notice something strange. People begin to imitate you.